Bears on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the like.
After these recent updates, the Chicago Bears could now be in big trouble. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. First and foremost, Bears fans, happy Monday to every single one of you guys. I hope you guys had a really good weekend, finally watching some Chicago Bears football. Even though it was just preseason, it still was a great time to see the guys back on the football field, popping those pads. Obviously, seeing the energy from new head coach Ben Johnson was a breath of fresh air. Obviously, that game against the Dolphins yesterday ended in a 24-24 tie. And there was a lot of positives to take away from that football game, Bears fans. First and foremost, the draft class played really well, headlined by Kyle Monangai and Luther Burden. Defensive end Austin Booker had a really good football game yesterday, Bears fans. He had 3 total sacks with a forced fumble. Obviously, both quarterbacks in Case Keenum and Tyson Bagent led very productive scoring drives as well. But when you're looking at yesterday's game against the Miami Dolphins, not everything went the Chicago Bears' way. Obviously, they have no definite answers in regard to the left tackle position, even though in my personal opinion that I think it's Ozzie Trapillo's job to lose. Pass rush outside of Austin Booker wasn't really there. Even though Booker had a really good performance, there was really no other person on this roster that really stood out. And once again, tackling wasn't an issue, but those are a couple of the things that kind of stood out in terms of negatives that we could take away from yesterday's 24-24 tie against the Miami Dolphins. But the biggest concern after the very first preseason game against the Miami Dolphins is now that it seems suddenly the Chicago Bears are very thin at the cornerback position. Obviously, when you're looking currently at the state of the Bears cornerback room, Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon were already out with leg and hamstring injuries. Shaw Frazier hasn't been present all summer long due to some personal issues. Now, according to Brad Biggs of the Chicago Tribune, 4 other corners left the game yesterday against the Miami Dolphins with apparent injuries. And now it's believed that the Chicago Bears could be searching to add more cornerbacks to this cornerback room. That's what he had to say about it, Bears fans. Keep an eye on the cornerback position with Jalen Johnson leg, Kyler Gordon hamstring, Nick McLeod unknown, Terrell Smith groin, Amir Speed unknown, and Shaw Frazier personal out or potentially sidelined this week. I'd also note that Trey Flowers played a lot and looked a little banged up at the end of the game. If there are injuries that are going to take some time, I expect some potential roster moves. Bears fans, first and foremost, this is obviously a bummer, a huge concern. Obviously, you don't want any guys to get injured during preseason, especially when they're all coming at one position group. And this is one of the areas of the football team in regard to the Chicago Bears that is a huge strength, and I give Ryan Poles a whole lot of kudos for. But the Chicago Bears were already missing some key starters to this position group in Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson, and we're not even sure if Jalen Johnson's going to be ready for week 1 in that Monday Night Football matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. So the Chicago Bears really couldn't afford any other injuries to this position. So obviously the Chicago Bears dealt with 4 more injured corners in yesterday's game. And it all depends on how serious these injuries are. Of course, we'll probably hear from Ben Johnson pretty soon on the state of these injuries. But if this is a serious issue, the Chicago Bears are going to be in big trouble. Hopefully Kyler Gordon can get back. Hopefully Jalen Johnson can get back prior to that week 1 matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. But prior to losing our starters, we also need solid depth behind our starters just in case they get hurt. But right now, the state of the Chicago Bears cornerback room is looking a little bit thin. To make matters worse, just based on the state of these injuries, according to Brad Biggs, also the Bears, with some concern about the injuries to this cornerback room, have already brought in a lot of different cornerbacks for a private workout. Obviously, you have guys like Kalen Barnes, Miller Bradford, Mekhi Garner, Caleb Hayes, Kenai Lovely, Mark Perry, Benny Sapp, and Jason Taylor. So all these cornerbacks are in Hallis Hall right now for a tryout to just probably add camp bodies. But once again, there is huge concern right now that our cornerback room is dropping like flies. It's something I just wanted to bring to your guys' attention, something to really monitor as we get close to that week 1 matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. Hopefully those guys all come back healthy and ready to go, because right now our cornerback room is really dropping like flies. So Bears fans, let me know down below in the comment section if you guys are concerned at all with the state of the cornerback room, because I certainly am. We only have a couple of weeks until the season opener against the Minnesota Vikings. So hopefully we can get Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, and obviously some of our big depth guys behind those guys back prior to that week 1 matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. But Bears fans, before I let you guys go on today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I do want to ask you guys a question in regard to, once again, the Chicago Bears defense. Like we just mentioned on today's episode of Keek on the Mic, Austin Booker had a really good performance against the Miami Dolphins with 3 total sacks and 1 forced fumble. But do you think the Chicago Bears should still go out and maybe add one more edge rusher to the rotation? Obviously, I'm not saying go out and get Trey Hendrickson or Micah Parsons, but do you think it would be smart for the Bears to go out and get a guy like Matthew Judon or Sedarius Smith? The only reason why I'm saying that is because, yes, Austin Booker had a really good performance, but we have to take it with a grain of salt because it was in preseason. I do expect Dennis Allen to give Austin Booker more of a prominent role this season within his defense, and maybe he produces that way in the regular season as well against quality starters and quality starting offensive linemen as well. But right now, Austin Booker is still a big mystery. So would it be smart for the Chicago Bears to go out and get a guy like Sedarius Smith or a guy like Matthew Judon that will be a whole lot cheaper than trading assets away for Trey Hendrickson and Micah Parsons? And obviously with getting Sedarius Smith or Matthew Judon, you would have to sign him to massive contracts as well, much like Trey Hendrickson and Micah Parsons are looking for. I personally think it would be a good idea to get Sedarius Smith, a proven veteran, or Matthew Judon, a proven veteran that can, not put all the pressure on Austin Booker. It seems like Austin Booker is very motivated. I think, having a performance like he did yesterday against the Miami Dolphins is definitely a huge confidence boost. But I think it would still be beneficial for a guy like Booker to have that veteran presence like Matthew Judon or Sedarius Smith to really groom him and really get him over the hump and hopefully get the most out of a guy like Austin Booker. So for me, I would definitely love the Chicago Bears to go out and get one more edge rusher in Sedarius Smith or Matthew Judon. But if you guys think that Austin Booker can get it done on the other side, consistently on the other side of Montez Sweat, let me know down below in the comment section. But as always, Bears fans, make sure you guys continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears that you know. But other than that, be back for an all-new Bears podcast right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it